In this latest expert series, Steve Tsang, director of the SOAS China Institute at University of London, provides a brief history of China's relationship with Taiwan, touching on how Taiwan's strategic significance to China has evolved since the mid-20th century.
When Taiwan was part of Imperial Japan's empire, and when the Communist Party had no air force and no navy, Taiwan didn't really matter. It was a faraway island. In 1949, Taiwan gained a strategic importance because Taiwan became the last redoubt of Chiang Kai-shek's rummed Republic of China government that was being ousted from the mainland of China, which continues to occupy the China seats at the United Nations, and therefore, in that sense, pose a threat to the legitimacy of the PRC after its foundation in 1949. But the expectation in 1949 to 1950 was that when the PLA built up sufficient amphibian assault capabilities within a year or and maybe two, then the PLA would attack Taiwan and put an end to it. That was also the general expectation in most Western capitals. But the Korean War happened with Mao's blessings, a miscalculation which resulted in US President Harry Truman neutralizing the Taiwan Strait, which effectively means that it became impossible for the PLA to cross the channel, the Taiwan Strait, and take Taiwan. But even then, Taiwan did not acquire geostrategic importance to China, again for the simple reasons that the PRC did not have the naval and air capabilities to do much about Taiwan against a major great power like the United States. By the 1980s, with the reform and opening up of China, there was a major shift in strategic thinking in China. It was the time when the Maoist People's War concept was replaced by a forward defense maritime strategy, which was called the First Island Chain. And the First Island Chain basically would run from the southern tip of Japan through Taiwan and further south to incorporate basically the South China Sea. And if the Chinese naval and air forces could hold the First Island Chain, then the eastern seaboard of China, which was in the process of being rapidly developed and modernized and becomes the manufacturing and financial centers of China itself, became important. But again, China did not have the capability to put into reality the First Island Chain maritime defense concept. And that really only happened in the last few years, or perhaps the last decade, when the massive buildup of Chinese maritime and air capabilities makes the prospect of the First Island Chain a potential reality. And that is when Taiwan acquires really serious geostrategic significance from the Chinese perspective. If a United States that cannot defend Taiwan should materialize, all the countries in the ASEAN 10 will do their own deals with Beijing. So would South Korea. And even Japan, the very foundation of US Indo-Pacific strategy since the end of this Pacific War, would have to consider whether it could rely on the US-Japan Mutual Defense Treaty for its own security.